talking about how to conjugate other irregular verbs. And these verbs do not follow the exact pattern of boot verbs, but I'll be able to give you some tips and tricks so you can tackle these conjugations as well. Hi guys, here are some examples of other irregular conjugated verbs in the present tense. So I kind of put them in categories. There are first some verbs called go-go verbs, and there are verbs called oi verbs. In the idea of go-go verbs, there's like different categories. One category is tenir, decir, and venir. They're all conjugated in a specific way with the same idea of go-go verbs, but not exactly the same as hacer, poner, and salir. But the idea of go-go verbs as a whole is that the yo form changes to a go. And I'll go into examples to show you what I mean by that. Then another example of irregular verbs are dar and ir. These are oi verbs. And oi verbs is the same as go-go in the sense that in oi verbs, the yo form is different, but the other two, for the most part, are conjugated the same. Except ir is just altogether irregular and changes to a VA form, but I'll show that example in the video. Okay, so the first verb I'm going to conjugate and explain to you is tener. So for tener, the conjugation is differently. Like normal verbs, you would usually just drop the ending and then conjugate, but you can't do that for tener, hacer, etc. So first, I'm going to focus on the tener, venir, decir. Those change in all of the forms except, you guessed it, nosotros and vosotros. A lot of the times, the conjugation is the same for nosotros and vosotros. So tener is kind of a go-go verb as well as a boot verb, if that makes sense. So for tener, the yo form conjugation is tengo. This is where that go-go verb comes in because it ends when a go. But the idea of why tener, venir, and decir are different is that they're also types of boot verbs. This E goes to an IE. So the to form is now tienes, the el, ella, usted form is now tiene, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form is now tienen. And if you were able to watch the other video, I go into boot verbs, but I'll do a little refresher just in case. So for boot verbs, you change it in the yo, to, el, ella, usted form and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form because it forms a boot. But in the case of tener, since it's a go-go verb and a boot verb, the go-go verb sticks with the yo form, and that is why it's tango, but then you change the E to an IE for the to form, the el, ella, usted form, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, and then conjugate like normal, just like a normal boot verb. The only difference is now you have, I'm sorry about that, now you have tango. So it would be yo, tango. And then the nosotros, vosotros is the same. So these ones, you just drop down the ER ending, and then you write ten, and the ER ending is amos for nosotros, so tenemos. Then vosotros is 10 still, and then you do the ER vosotros ending, which is just es. For vosotros and nosotros, you do not have to worry about the E changing to an IE. So this is how you conjugate tener. The next one we'll conjugate is venir, and is conjugated in the exact same as tener, where the yo form changes to the go verb, but then the rest are the boot verb to el, ella, usted, ellos, ellas, ustedes, and the nosotros, vosotros are the same. Here is it written down. Another verb following the venir and tener is decir, but in this case, the E changes only to an I. So now the yo, still in the go form, would be digo. So yeah, it's a little bit different than tener and venir, because in the yo form they stayed the same, but they were tengo, vengo, but now for the yo form and decir it's digo. But then for two, el, ella, usted, ellos, ellas, ustedes, it would change to dic, and then you put the ending. But then for nosotros, vosotros, it stays the same to the dec, and you put the regular ir endings. Here is decir fully conjugated. Hacer, poner, and salir all follow a similar structure of the other verbs we conjugated, except in the fact that only the yo form is a go form, and the others are conjugated exactly like a normal present tense verb. As I said, you can see that the yo form changes to the ago, but all of the rest of the subjects are conjugated exactly like an er verb normally would. Salir, just like hacer, is conjugated in the same way, with salgo being the only one in the go form. Another form of irregular verbs are the oi verbs, and in this case, the yo form changes to that oi. So ir and dar, as I said, are the oi verbs, and this is how you conjugate ir. So it's voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. And as you can see, the voy is what changes to the oi, and then everything else is conjugated the same. Except in the case of ir, since when you drop ir, the verb goes away immediately, you conjugate it with the v and the ar endings. Okay, so here's dar. Pause the video and try to conjugate it. I hope you tried, and here's the conjugation of dar. It is the same as ir, with the yo form being in the oi form, so doy, then it's das, da, damos, dais, dan. The rest are conjugated normally. So I wanted to give an overview of these irregular verbs, and I also wanted to go through the conjugations of these verbs because I forgot to in the beginning. So the normal go-go regular verbs are poner, which is to put or place, hacer, which is to do or make, and salir, which is to leave. And what I mean by go-go regular is that it only changes to a go verb in the yo form, and then the rest of the subjects, such as tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, are all conjugated the exact same. So the yo form, for example, for poner changes to pongo, but then the rest go pones, pone, ponemos, pones, ponen. But then for go-go and boot verbs, there are tener, which is to have, venir, which is to come, and decir, which is to say or speak. And so in these cases, the yo form does change to tener, the yo form does change to a go-go verb, such as tango, but then the rest of the boot to él, ella, usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes changes to that boot verb. So for tener, it would be tango, then it changes to tienes, so the e to an ie, tiene for the él, ella, usted form, and tienen for the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. But then for nosotros, it stays the same. The e stays an e, so it's tenemos. And for the vosotros, the e stays the e, and it's tenéis. And that goes the same for venir. And the only irregularity with decir is that in the yo form, it's digo. So in the case of decir, all of the boot first changes to the e to an I, but the yo form is also a go, so digo. And then lastly, there's oi verbs, which dar and ir fit into, and that just means the yo form changes to an ends and changes to an oi. So for dar, it's doy in the yo form, but then the rest of the subjects are conjugated exactly the same. Ir is just a bit different because If you drop the ending of ear, there is nothing left, and that is why it changes to an AR. So it's voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. And that's kind of like a rhyme, so it's easy to remember dar and ear, as they are both the same, except dar has a D at the front and ear has a V at the front. So I really hoped this video helped you guys, and I hope you were able to follow along pretty easily. Just comment down questions or comments and we'll try to answer them to give you more clarity. Thanks again!